That's it. Good night, everybody. That's all the time we have. Thank you. All right.
As this video progresses, we will be collecting a bank of comedy terms to be cashed in at the end of the video.
I know you think people are going to be interested in this, but they're not.
Now, I understand the hesitation. Why put in all of this effort? Particularly because, to the untrained eye, there's not much going on in one of Seinfeld's sets. Nothing in particular. Nothing. For emphasis, Seinfeld built a career based in nothing. That's an ostensibly cruel statement. His career has to have amounted to something. But his work has only ever been about nothing. Nothing more, and nothing less.
Nothing. Nothing? Nothing. What does that mean?
Both in the show and in his stand-up routine, Seinfeld has assumed a rather simple brand of humor, called observational comedy. But in Seinfeld's case, we'll dub it as nothing.
Nothing.
See, there is nothing special about observational comedy. It starts and ends with the everyman. It's about everyday life. It's about the mundane. It's about everything. It's about nothing. Most squarely, observational comedy is about the unobserved parts of life.
I still don't know what the idea is.
It's about nothing.
Right.
Everybody's doing something. We'll do nothing.
Typically, the media we consume is some sort of an escape from reality. We pause our everyday lives to tune in to a TV show. We might even literally pause the show if the real world demands our attention. Neither the real world or the world to which we are escaping want much to do with one another. Observational comedy, like that of Seinfeld's, is not interested in competing for your attention. Interestingly, it acts as a bridge for your attention or a mirror for reflection because just as we stare into the television, Seinfeld's humor reflects back to us the world that we occupy.
It's a long time to spend on something that means absolutely nothing. But that's what I do. That's what people want me to do, is spend a lot of time wastefully, so that then I can then waste their time.
In a sense, Seinfeld's comedy is participatory. To assign new meaning to an old term, this is Seinfeld's unique take on crowd work. Just as the show invites an audience into Seinfeld's living room, Seinfeld wants to step into your living room. He wants to explore your workplace, your relationships. While he's not working the crowd with quick-witted exchanges, he most certainly is interfacing with his audience in a very real way. It's a knock-knock joke in the sense that Seinfeld knocks on the door of our lives. For reference, let's break down an observation of his and how he takes it from a funny idea to a funny joke.
In comedy, what you do is you think of something that you think is funny, and then you go from there. It's a fun thing to say, Pop-Tart.
What Seinfeld just defined in layman's terms as the premise or the focal point of his joke. Here, Jerry has foraged our kitchen cabinets for substance, and like a pubescent boy, he has returned with a Pop-Tart in hand.
I like the first line to be funny right away. When I was a kid and they invented the Pop-Tart, the back of my head blew right off. And that got the whole thing started, that a specific part of my head blew off. Not just my head, but just the back.
The Pop-Tart blew the back of Seinfeld's head off, and it blew the doors to the pantry wide open. Like Goldilocks, the comic has made himself at home, foregoing the porridge, though, and landing at other breakfast staples.
It was the 60s and we had toast. We had orange juice that was frozen years in advance that you had to hack away at with a knife to get a couple of drops, and it felt like you were committing a murder before you got on your school bus. Then I talk about shredded wheat, which was like wrapping your lips around a wood chipper. You have breakfast, and then you had to take 2 days off for the scars to heal so you could speak again.
Since Seinfeld has paid the cost of setting up the joke, the rest of the food that he lists here is free game. More buffet than a la carte.
What is it about the buffet? It does fascinate me.
This is what comedians would call a tag. Seinfeld does not need to talk about other foods. In fact, he doesn't have to talk about Pop-Tarts anymore. He could move on to his next bit. But he chooses to linger and to press his advantage. But unlike a buffet, Seinfeld's jokes are rarely party to any bloat. Every word has its exact place in the joke.
So now I'm looking for the connective tissue that gives me the really tight, smooth link, like a jigsaw puzzle link. And if it's too long, if it's just a split second too long, you will shave letters off of words. You count syllables, to get it just, it's more like songwriting.
Songwriting is an apt comparison. Every single syllable has its place, a rhythm to it. Though this video is about another comedian entirely, it drives the point home.
Here's how to do a John Mulaney impression. Number 1, the rhythm. The way he talks, he puts emphasis on every single word.
Earlier, I mentioned crowd work. Spontaneous comedy like crowd work and improv has its own type of musicality to it. In this clip, Kevin Hart and Don Cheadle have a back and forth the same way that a drummer and a bassist might play off of one another. It's pure jazz. More specifically, take note of the pauses that Kevin takes. This pause creates emphasis and is called a beat. Comedians employ beats like musicians employ rests. More conventionally, Kevin will audibly pause to let his joke marinate. But he also is liable to repeat a phrase, using his words to pause on giving out new information in order to maintain his comedic timing. Each time a phrase gets repeated, the comedians are taking another pass at the joke, approaching it from different angles, editing themselves in real time.
And me, I'm 56 years old.
Damn! I'm sorry. Because it was a thought. No, seriously. It was a thought. It was a thought, and I blurted it out. I did not mean it that way.
I'm fine.
Okay, but just understand I didn't mean it the way it came out.
We'll take a poll on how you meant it with people here later after the show's over, but...
I can sit up here and honestly say, buddy, that was from a place of love.
Got it.
Like, damn.
Oh, that was from...
Like, damn.
You didn't... If we could play it back right now...
Play it back.
These are two different dams.
Play it back in slow motion.
There wasn't no...
I said...
There was no like, wow, that's amazing.
Damn.
No, you said the word damn. Do you want me to tell you how you said it?
I know how I said it, Don.
Do you want me to say it back to you how I think you said it?
Go ahead.
Damn.
Not true.
Fam.
Not true.
Fam.
I said...
Kevin.
I said, damn it.
Each time you said it now, it's gotten quieter and quieter. I could barely hear you that last time when you said it.
Well, that means that you can barely hear the truth. So who has the problem here? Who has the problem? Maybe 56 is catching up.
Kevin Hart and Don Cheadle hardly care about Don's age, and Seinfeld is not as enamored with Pop-Tarts as he pretends to be. While these things constitute the premise of the joke, they are simply a means to an end. The means being the setup to their inevitable punchline, and the end being the reward of our laughter. Though they present like candid and casual conversations, Seinfeld's sets are anything but spontaneous. To the contrary, the buttery smooth delivery is the product of tireless revision and ideation.
Seinfeld realized that in order to be successful, he had to be prolific. And in order to be prolific, he had to write a lot. In fact, Seinfeld has written almost every single day since 1975, which is over 16,000 days of writing.
In a video that breaks down Louis C.K., one of Seinfeld's greatest peers in the industry, Nerdwriter states,
like great poetry, great stand-up comedy is language distilled to its most potent form.
What does it take to distill language, to turn nothing into something? As evidence, it's best to bring our bank of comedy terms into focus one last time. And in order to do so, let's apply these terms to one final joke. To start, Seinfeld opens the joke by relating to the audience by doing what we've loosely defined as crowd work. Where traditionally a comic would dialogue with someone from the crowd, the first few lines of the joke aim to relate to as many audience members as possible. With the crowd warm, he introduces his premise with multiple emphatic beats. Still in the realm of breakfast foods, Seinfeld is favoring donut holes over Pop-Tarts in this joke. He staccatos his delivery, pausing so the audience has time to digest. He states,
The donut hole.
pauses, restates the premise, and then uses his words to pause on giving out new information. While we're on the topic of musicality, pay attention to the rhythm he uses to deliver his lines. Seinfeld, like John Mulaney, has a surprising cadence, placing emphasis on different parts of the sentence. This kind of syncopation is particularly effective as it makes the audience really listen to what Seinfeld is saying. And once Seinfeld delivers his first punchline, he riffs off of his original premise with more tags. Then, as the joke comes to a close, note how his intonation clues us in on the end in the same way that a musician's chord progression typically brings us back home to a dominant chord at the end of a song. He returns to his initial idea of crowd work. As the joke plays out, pay attention to how Seinfeld can manufacture a laugh with the mechanical precision of a donut shop punching holes out of a donut, and with the mesmerizing artistry of a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. When you hone in on the language, you begin to see how a comedian of Seinfeld's caliber is able to make a comedy out of an observation, or more aptly put, you begin to see how Seinfeld is able to make something out of nothing.
A lot of reports, investigative reports on TV, weight problem in America, they always start the same, sidewalk shot, regular people, right? Carefully angled, cutting them off at the head, we don't want to see who it is. Aren't some of those people at home later go, hey, that's my ass on CNN? That's not fair. Just stepped out to get some donut holes. The donut hole. The donut hole. Let's stop right there. What a horrible little snack. If you want a donut, have a donut. Why are you eating the hole? It's such a freaky metaphysical concept to begin with. You can't sell people holes. A hole does not exist. Words have meanings. A hole. A hole is the absence of whatever is surrounding it. Okay? If they were really donut holes, the bag would be empty. Okay? And the donuts that you got the holes from wouldn't have holes because you took them. Now, if you want, you could take what they're calling donut holes, but they are not. They are donut plugs. You could take the plug and shove it in the hole, which I don't even feel comfortable saying for some reason, but that would eliminate the donut, the hole, and the plug, but you still have a fat ass and people shooting you with a camera as you're walking down the street, so it doesn't work.